Hello and good morning, good afternoon, wherever it is you are joining us from today. Welcome to our final EQ Lunch and Learn episode for 2024. We were supposed to have this edition last week, but had some technical issues, and it seems like today we're having similar technical issues, but we are going to push on nonetheless and have this very important conversation. As we come to the close of the year, it's a great time to pause, reflect, and recharge. The past months have been filled with both accomplishments and challenges, making now a perfect moment to assess our journeys, both professionally and personally. Reflecting on our experiences allows us to recognize our progress and identify areas for growth and improvement in the coming year. Additionally, this time allows an opportunity to prioritize self care and restore our energy before entering the new year with clarity and purpose. Today, in our conversation, we're going to explore strategies for meaningful reflection, the importance of recharging, and how to set personal goals for the year ahead. So, whether you're looking to enhance your personal well being, boost your career, or achieve a better balance in life, this session will provide useful insights to help you enter the new year feeling refreshed, focused, and ready for what lies ahead. Now, I typically have three guests who help me to unpack this insightful conversation, but due to circumstances beyond our control today, in the studio, I have one of my guests with us today, and we're going to have a conversation. As always, I promise you, you provide your lunch and we will bring the learning. And I know that today is going to be a great conversation for just that. So, allow me to introduce to you a very dear friend to PTS, Miss Tessie Omulo. Hey, Tessie, how you doing?
I'm almost doing a happy dance. Feels like it's been a year since I was on here, so I'm
Yes,
excited.
it has been. It has been. Somehow I always look for you for this session because I think you're so great at taking time to reflect and you bring such amazing insights. So
Thank
we're
you.
hoping that Joel will still be able to join us, but in the off chance that he isn't, we're still going to have a conversation about reflecting and recharging so that we're fueled for 2025. For those of you who don't know Tessie, Tessie is a public relations and communications professional with over 5 years' experience in leading strategy and execution of PR campaigns, digital content, and media. She has a demonstrable record of identifying, planning, and exploiting PR and digital marketing opportunities, and I can testify to that, implementing initiatives for positive brand support and reputation. Tessie is a friend to PTS. She has really been a great support to us as an organization. And Tessie also is part of our advisory board. So she is such a key and important member of the PTS family. Tessie, it's great to have you. And
Thank
yeah, I think I'm with you doing the happy dance too as we have this conversation. So it may turn out to be a panel discussion. It may turn out to be an armchair discussion. I think that the good thing about having Tessie here is I know that whatever direction it goes, it's going to be good. And I know that you can adapt accordingly. So,
you.
Tessie, let's dive right into our conversation. If you're with us here today, say hi and tell us where you're logged in from. We'd love to hear from you as we kick off. And if you'd like to connect with Tessie, you can find her on LinkedIn. We've shared her link, the link to her LinkedIn profile. Tessie, let's talk about 2024. I, for one, am so glad it's December. I feel exhausted. I feel as though it has been a really busy year. And for me, it's been its busiest in this final quarter. As we approach the end of another year, what are some key lessons that you've learned this year? And, typically we focus our attention in this lunch and learn on the professional arena. But I think, today as we reflect, we recognize that who we are at work is impacted by who we are everywhere else. So, both professionally and personally, what are some of the key things that you've learned this 2024?
So thank you, Mucha. When you said you're glad 2024 is coming to a close, I think we all can relate. I think it's been a heavy year in different facets of our lives. So professionally, family, friends, as a country. I think we've had a lot going on in 2024, and everybody is feeling, you know, I feel like telling everyone right now, just take a break and a breathe.
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
yeah, because I'd even start on a note to say great job, like great job to everybody for pulling it through to this point in the year. It's not been an easy year, and you have made it through. You're here, so congratulations and great job. What are the things that I am grateful for this year? What sort of spoke to me throughout this year? I would want to summarize it into one:
Mm,
continuous learning, and in every area of my life, be it relationships, friends, family, how to navigate that, how to build more healthy relationships. Just learning how to intentionally do that. Sometimes we think it's an easy thing to do, it comes very quickly, but you realize that you learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about your friends, about how people navigate tough situations, and you learn to be a better friend, a better sister, better, daughter, or you learn to be a better person in general. So continuous learning in relationships generally, continuous learning at work. Um, we are all experiencing what is deemed to be a very tough economic period, and companies are either clawing back on budgets, clawing back on resources in terms of teams, and you've been forced to make sure you're relevant. What does that mean? That you're learning, that you're keeping yourself abreast with what's happening, that you're not easily dispensable. So you're ensuring that that continuous learning in your workplace is taking place in an intentional manner, so then you're able to bring value to your workplace. Then personal, which tends to be at the end for all of us. We do all these things, then your personal tends to keep catching up throughout the year. What are you doing for yourself? Is it learning in school? For me, that has been it. I went back to school, and that has been an interesting learning experience. Is it, a new project that you're taking on the side? Could be a passion project. What are you doing about that? It could be keeping yourself healthy and making sure it's
mm,
lifestyle. And I say that very intentionally because I love anything fitness, anything that keeps you excited about life, because health will keep you excited about doing every other thing, on your goal list. So making sure that your personal also has that continuous learning. Are you getting better at knowing what your body needs to take, your kind of exercise you need to do, the kind of learning you need to do at a personal level? Is it reading books? Is it listening to podcasts? Which kind of podcasts do you like? Are you contributing to some of these podcasts as a speaker, or etc? Your personal life also needs that. So continuous learning for me has been in those areas: relationships from a family and friends perspective, work related, personal related, and finances. Hey, I feel like we'll need to
mm.
one. Finances, learning to adjust. It's
Mm,
been a tough
mm,
period from when we started experiencing COVID till now, and we're continuing to experience tough economic times, and that means your money does not look the same. Even if you're
yeah.
making more, sometimes you need to really rethink: are you investing? Are you managing your budget better? Money is that conversation that we all also need to have, and it could fall under your personal goals, but putting it also on its own gives you a better picture on how you need to manage that. So I'll share those for now, Mucha.
Wow, I love it. So the kind of key lessons you've learned have all been, and what you're grateful for is all been around growing really. It's about your development. And I guess being intentional about development, right? I think a lot of times we start the year with all these great intentions, but we don't necessarily sustain it and ensure that we run that theme throughout the year. And I love the way you've tied in how this is something for you that cuts across all the different spheres of your life, right? So both professionally and personally as well. Thinking about this idea of continuous development, how are you able to evaluate your accomplishments and challenges without being or feeling overwhelmed or discouraged by setbacks? So, how are you able to evaluate your accomplishments and challenges without feeling overwhelmed or discouraged by the setbacks that have occurred? And I'm sure there are setbacks that you have faced throughout the course of the year.
That's right. I think I'll give a very practical approach to this because most of us tend to forget the things that we do well. At the end of the year,
Mm,
sometimes you get to November, December, you're like, "Whoo, I didn't get to do this, and I didn't get to do that, and I didn't get to do that." We kind of forget some of the things that we've done, whether small or big.
mm,
We'll focus more on the things that we've not been able to do. So I came up with this very simple approach to doing my sort of like taking stock process. Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Because every time I'm doing my, and I'll share it, Mucha, my tool, my planner tool.
Yes,
Every time I'm
yes, yes,
to do
yes.
my planner, I get to a place where they tell you reflect on your year. And I'm struggling to remember in January, I did this thing, and in February and in March, and it's a bit hard to remember. So I realized over time to make it easy for me, I put them on my Google Calendar. It's as simple as that. So on today is what date? Today is 10th. On 10th,
10, yeah.
contributed to a conversation on reflecting and recharging for EQ Lunch and
Mm,
Learn. And I code it
mm,
in a different color. And when I'm going back to look at my year, when I'm doing my reflection, they really stick out. It's really easy for me to see the pattern, to see the
mm,
small, big things that I've been able to do throughout the year. So that is very practical for me. It's easy. You just open your calendar and you almost have those small pockets of joy staring at you already, and you don't have to really struggle to remember. There are people who maybe don't like calendars because probably you've synced your work calendar and your personal calendar, and looking at it gives you a bit of anxiety and stress. That's okay.
yes,
That's fine.
yeah.
What you could do is journal. So if you have opportunities to sit down and just every so often, maybe monthly, sit down and just think through your month, think through what you're grateful for, think through what the short wins or small wins have been that month. Just put it down, journal, and keep it somewhere you can refer to. So journaling is also one that works. So people who love journaling and have a good way of keeping track. Sometimes making sure you journal consistently is not easy. So if you're good
Mm,
at journaling, that's also an approach that you could do. And finally, introspecting. So the year is busy. A lot of things are happening. So if you decide every quarter, I will take time to go somewhere where there's no noise. And by noise, it could be anything that demands your daily attention. Could be your friends, your
mm-hmm,
family, your work, anything that demands you to be there physically, and you might not be able to reflect. Take your time away from it on that day. Just go away and reflect. Do some introspection, and this should be guided by something you did at the beginning of the year. So if you had a goal, then you reflect, how am I doing? How am I progressing?
mm,
What can I do better?
mm,
So taking time to just go ahead and do that introspection is very important. So you might go somewhere, a forest, I don't know, whatever works for you. If you don't like
mm-hmm,
to write, you can record it, use a recorder, and just put down those things that you're grateful for, so that at the end of the year, as much as you might not have achieved 10 out of 10. You might have done 6 out of 10. And you know what? Great job. That is a job
Yeah.
well done. But if you
Yeah.
don't put them down, you won't be able to see those aspects that, are good and you need to celebrate. Now, which I have one more thing to say here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
very good at remembering the personal stuff. I I managed to buy a car this year, it was on my goal. I managed to go to school this year, it was on my goal. Those things are easy to remember. At work, sometimes you go through your work throughout the year, you don't remember some
Mm-hmm.
of the things you do well. So, one of the
Mm.
things I learned to do is have a folder where I put in some of the great things I have done at work. So then at the end of the year, it's easy for me to pick out the things I did very well. This campaign was successful. I managed to deliver this amazing advisory for a client and it went very well. Put them down as well. So then you're able to keep track of that growth in your professional journey as well. So I think those three things would stand out for me. Work with your Google Calendar. It's free, it's available. Journal, use a notebook, use your phone, introspect, go out somewhere and just sit and think through your time. And you can use a recorder or your phone to do that. Yeah.
Wow. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Tessie. I know why, and I think everyone else who's listening will agree with me, why we love having you here every year. I think it should just be a standard, Tessie, that in this episode of the year, which is typically in November, in this episode of the year, we are always going to have Tessie as one of our guests because I think one of the things you've done really well is master the art of reflecting. And
Yeah.
I love the intentionality you've brought, right? This idea of taking stock in your journal or in your calendar of the milestones along the way. Because it does mean, you're right, at the end of the year, you're able to look back and say, wow, this is what I was able to achieve as far as my goals were concerned. And I think, what you mentioned as well around introspection. So taking stock and either writing it down or using a recorder. I think it's something that definitely motivates. And what that means is when you're having those days where things aren't going according to plan, you can always look back on what you have been able to achieve, right? And that can really motivate you to keep going. So thank you very much for sharing those really awesome insights. Kimani, welcome. I see you online. Thank you so much for joining us. Kimani says that the power of adaptability, life often presents unexpected challenges. Adaptability is crucial for staying resilient and finding solutions. Thank you. And we have Wildest Dreams. Put your achievements on your Google Calendar. Thank you for sharing, Tessie. If you're here, do say hello to us and keep your comments coming. We love to hear from you as we go through. So, thanks, Tessie. I think those are some really, really amazing insights that you have shared with us. And I think it's something that can really keep us going and keep us from feeling overwhelmed or discouraged by the setbacks that we have. What were some of the unexpected moments or events that came along this year, Tessie, that had a real profound impact on you and on your perspective?
That's an interesting one. And I like that Kimani has, highlighted that sometimes you feel like you've done everything right. At the end of the year, you prepped, you're ready, you've done your plan for 2025, you've reflected, you're good to go. You're working on your energy now. You're like, let's go. Then, you get a curveball. During the year. And if you're not able to adapt, then it kind of keeps you down. And for me this year, it's been loss.
Mm,
Um, to be quite honest, I have always thought I'm a resilient person, and I still think I am. Um, but loss has been that thing that has hit me and totally thrown me off guard. And I realized something very important. I'm even getting teary as I speak about this. Is the power of community, the power
mm,
of having a strong support system. Because there's times when you don't have that capacity to do the things you do very well, and those people come in and support you, but also remind you what you're capable of doing. So I'd say that expect a curveball, expect something, that you might not have planned for. But building that muscle over time will help you overcome, I would say. Because sometimes when you're thinking about, I'm building my resilience now, it's never quite because something is going on now. It's for later that something will
Yeah.
happen, and because you have built that muscle, you're able to navigate it better. So for me this year, it's been loss, and I am still navigating that, I would say. But having a very strong support system has been one of those things that has helped me navigate it better and easier. And I'm now more intentional about pouring into
Mm.
my support system. So making sure, their cups are full throughout the year. So when I need that support, they're able to pour into mine as well. Yeah.
I love that, Tessie. I think that's so true that as much as we may build this resilience muscle, there are times where we are going to be swept for a loop. And I think it's so important that we have those people that can be our network, that can be our support system, and really bolster us up and just remind us that we have what it takes, we have what we need to keep going, even on the days when it's really dark. I think loss is very, very hard to navigate. And the thing about loss is that it's not that you navigate it for that period. It's one of those things that keeps coming back, right? So you navigate through whatever wave you may be going through whatever season you're going through. But it's one of those things that comes back again. So you're never really done and dusted with it. And so being able to navigate that and it is so key. So thank you very much for sharing and sending hugs your way. I know we've had conversations about this, but yeah, sending hugs your way. And, just I think this idea of learning to lean is so key. One of the things I've learned through my period, my season of loss, is actually asking for what I need. And I think I've talked about this before that sometimes you have this really really great network, right, or this support system, but if you don't ask for what you need, they don't know that you need it. And so
Yeah.
one of the lessons I've learned to help bolster my resilience is to say, you know what, I think I need a hug right now,
Yeah.
or you know what, I think I need to just sit and cry. And having the kind of people around you who allow you to ask that is also really important. And then I guess the flip side of that is being that for others, right? Checking in
Absolutely.
with others to see if they need that from you. And I think for women like us who are strong women, Tessie, sometimes that's hard to do, right?
Very.
And I think our strength is a strength, but with every strength, a shadow is cast.
Yeah.
I know in my experience, there's been times where people have just assumed I'm okay, and I'm not, right? I'm not okay, but I'm doing life. I'm trying to kind of push through and um yeah, I'm learning to ask. I'm learning to say, hey, I'm actually not okay. Can we take a break and um can I get what I need so that I can be okay? So thank you very much for sharing that. Um, Jesse, how can we create pockets in the course of the year where we ensure alignment with our values, right? So how can we identify moments in the year where we feel most aligned with our values and then kind of build on that so we have more such pockets?
Okay. That's an interesting one. And I think the only way you can identify, you know, those pockets is if you've done planning before.
Mm,
You've sort of said, if I see this, then it means this for me. So I'd start off the bat to say planning is fundamental. You just need to get into a habit of planning. And it doesn't need to be complicated. It just needs, do it your way, whatever works for you. There are guys who go all out and do like 3D vision boards. But there are guys who, it's a simple paper. I write it down, I keep it close to me in my wallet, or in the car or in the house. I have it with me on my notebook. Whatever way works for you, planning is important. Just putting into perspective those things you want to achieve gets your
Mm,
mind, sort of geared towards doing what you need to do to get there. So, planning. And I want to throw in what Kimani said, planning with a mind of
yeah.
being adaptable, because you can plan, but there's things that can come along the way. So, as you plan, think I need to be adaptable throughout the journey. Adaptability is key for me. So plan, set that goal. Even if it's three things, put all three down and make sure you're ready, for the year. And ready is that making sure you're adaptable. If things change, I'm able to move this way. Then keep our success journal. I think I would like to change the word journal, because journal tends to kick people off because they think this journaling is this hard thing that I need to do. So keep a success list, something that it's a record of sorts
Mm,
that says, from my planning, the things I need to do, I
yeah.
have managed to do. Maybe for one thing, I've managed to go 20% or 30% or 50% throughout the year. Keep that. Put that down, because it gives you momentum and it shows that you're actually working towards achieving your goals. So make sure you put it down, so then you're able to see. It's very visual for you. I wrote down
Yeah.
that I'm doing something. I'm not there yet, but I'm getting there. I'm making small progress, very small steps towards it. Then three, which I think a lot of ladies do very well. I don't know how gentlemen do it. Joe is here. Joe Karibu Sana, you will tell us how you do this. Having an accountability partner. I think a lot of ladies have managed to do this very well. They have a friend, a sister, their mother, someone who just keeps them accountable, someone who knows what they're planning to do for the year. You've told them, I want to do this, I'm planning to go there, to travel here, and they kind of know what your year looks like. And they'll sort of remind you, "Oh, for one, Tessie, you said you're going for marathon in South Africa. Have you paid?"
Yes. Yes,
You know,
Tessie.
I said that very intentionally because Misha knows I need to do something. So someone who can call you out and say, quarter one is done. What have you done towards that big goal that you said you'd do?
Mm,
So an
mm.
accountability partner is very key. It could be your friend, it could be your partner, your, spouse, it could be a sister, even a colleague. Sometimes you find your colleagues very useful, and they help you grow in the workspace. So share it with someone who can challenge you and keep you in check in terms of time is going. What are you doing towards this? How can I help you? Then finally, just extend yourself some grace, because you might do all these things, but yes, things are happening around us. Vitu kwa ground ni different, like
Yes.
and do all your plans and stuff. As we progress, things change. So extend yourself some grace and allow yourself to keep resetting along the way. That's what adaptability, that's what Kimani was talking about. Being adaptable is to say, okay, the big goal might not be achieved this year, but we might be able to do 75%. And I'm okay with 75%. I will, push through to achieve 100 in the next coming year. Yeah.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you very much, Tessie. I agree with you 100%. And I'm laughing because I know that's one of the roles we play with each other, holding each other accountable. And to some of the big, hairy, audacious goals that we have, both for work and for our personal life. And I think that it's so good because for me, it's such a reminder that, oh gosh, okay, I need to be able to update Tessie that I've taken this action or I need to take that action. So I agree that accountability is so key. Joel, we're so happy to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us. And I'm so happy that this week we were able to manage our technical issues and we're here. We would have had Gladys with
Yeah,
us as well, but unfortunately she's not able to join us. But yeah, no, I know we're going to have a great conversation. So welcome, welcome, welcome to all of you
thank you so
who are
much.
online. Yes, Joel is a
Yeah.
new friend of PTS and has over a decade of experience in customer experience. He's a seasoned professional with expertise in telecoms and in the insurance industries. He serves as the group head of customer experience at Jubilee Insurance. leading the development and implementation of strategies to enhance customer satisfaction and loyalty across the group. So we're really delighted to have you here. If you want to connect with Joel, you can find him on LinkedIn. Joel, can we get you to dive right in? I've been having the conversation with Tessie so far, but would love to have you chime in. And
Yeah.
perhaps maybe we can start you easy as you settle in. What's
Oh,
some key
yes.
lessons that you've learned this year, both professionally
Mm.
and personally? Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Mucha, even for let me slide in easily. Yeah, apologies for being slightly late. I
No
had
worries.
another engagement. Actually, in my head, this was starting around 1, so I worked with 1, and yeah, just now I've
No
realized it was
worries.
12:30. Yeah, but
No worries.
oh yes. Hey, so did you guys start with where for this year? Yeah.
We did.
Yes, we did. Jesse actually gave everyone a well
Because
done. So I was like, guys, well done.
yeah, this year has been, I think the first one word to describe the year has we'll start with where.
Well,
But it's been an interesting year. Actually, I think, to be honest, this has been a year that, let me start with my professional side. I've had really a nice challenge at work, um, doing a group-wide project, and had some key learnings there from just that collaborations with people, looking at different perspectives and rather different ways different countries interact with people to deliver something. That has been, I think, a key learning for me, because I was doing a project across East Africa, had to engage with TZ, had to engage with UG, Kenya, and that has been amazing. On a personal level, I think from and here I'll speak more from. I think this has been a year where personally I've been able to really solidify and grow the traits that I wanted to grow. So from being very, I'm a dad. So in terms of from a family perspective, I think this year has been very deliberate in my family time, and just trying to work on that. Not only to be, some of us when you get to work, you forget. So that has been a key area, the key thing that I think I've managed to do this year from a personal level. But generally, the year has been, also for us, Mucha in Kenya. Summary is where, for obvious reasons that we won't mention.
to be fair, I think it's a global thing, right? And I guess
It's a global thing.
I think in the different languages, that way may sound different in the different languages because that one is a very Kenyan.
Yeah.
That
No,
one is
that's
very
Kenyanese,
Kenyan. But
Kenyanese stuff.
yes, yes. But I think that across the globe, there is that
Yeah.
collective feeling of exhaustion, and
Mm.
wow, we made it. I don't think
Yeah.
we truly understand the impact, to be honest, of COVID, right? How
Oh,
it
yeah.
impacted us. And yes, we may be through it in the sense that we're not dealing with the pandemic the way we were dealing with it a few years ago, but we're dealing with the aftermath of it. And I think that exhaustion is telling 100%. Where I can see some comments in the group, guys are resonating.
Yeah.
Guys are resonating with that way. Yeah, Joe, that's going to be one of the takeaways from today. Where so guys, how do we recharge mentally and emotionally before we enter the new year? Joe, let me stay with you. What are some of the ways that
Mm.
you're planning to kind of recharge mentally and emotionally as
Mm.
think about this year that we survived? Because as
Yeah.
January comes, we're gonna have to get started again. So, what are some of
Yeah.
the ways that you would say that we can practically recharge? And then Tessie will come to you.
Mm.
the same.
Great, great. Yeah, let me start with my plan. So first of all, I need to first go on, a nice rest, and this has been long overdue. So my recharge process is I want to do just as and here is where negate it does not negate my previous comment about me being a family man, but a solo trip.
Uh-huh.
Very,
Uh-huh.
very, 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 just let me say low budget. And maybe this is one thing. We don't realize the power of introspection. That bit of you can take a moment to review, reflect, re-energize. For me, it also, as you're doing you re-energize. So for me, from a mental perspective, I can't wait for next week just to do a drive along some Thika road all the way to past that side. So I'm taking it. I'm visiting somebody, but while I'm taking it as this is my me
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
because that's how. Because I feel the year has been quite intense, so you need that moment of to breathe out. And if, like previous comment, which even what you're saying, what has been going around even in the world, that everybody is stretched in various. I don't think we have ever had a year where post COVID, where stress levels have been as high as we had this year. So
Yeah.
for me, I'll say that let's take time. It's December. This is Sunday of month. Let's take time to enjoy, few days, recharge, re-energize, and that's what I'm planning to do. Yeah.
I love it. 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 And I think that your me time, Joel, actually fuels your family time. Because when we are in
Oh
a
yes.
good space, we're better as family members. So I don't think it takes away in any way from your earlier comments. And I love what you said around just taking time to recharge. Tessie, how about you?
Um, so Joel spoke about rest, and we're discussing about it recently. How December has this illusion of it's long. The period, the break is long, but normally it's not. It's really short.
Very short.
If you're intentional about resting, you realize you're back to the office really quickly. But what I've learned
Yep.
this year, which I would be one of the challenges to myself to do next year, is rest throughout the year. So ensure that I figure out how to have that kind of rest scheduled in throughout the year. I don't do rest very well. I'm those people who are not homebodies. I can't stay indoors. I'm always in the outdoors. So I tend not to rest. I can rest my mind sometimes, then my body is not resting. Or I rest my body and my mind is still working. So just thinking through that rest throughout the year in a way that it's more sustainable and healthy. However, what do I plan to do this December? I will start off with a physical activity. I have a big challenge coming up on the 21st where I will run 31 kilometers to celebrate my
Wow.
31st birthday. So that's how I started. I love challenges. So I'm excited about this. After doing that, I feel like, oh yeah, now we can close the year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, I'll
Nice.
start it with that physical activity, doing the run, then a lot of self care then afterwards. So go to the spa, relax, spend time with, my family. That's a key thing for me. But one of the things I also want to do, as I do all this self care stuff, is consider taking a break from social media. So doing a digital detox where I either reduce the amount of time I spend online or just not spend time online at all and be intentional about being where my feet are. So if I'm with my family, that's where I am. I'm not online. I'm
Oh,
not
sorry, Tessie. Tessie, I'm sorry. We need a rewind on that comment. Be intentional about being where you're what?
where
We
your
need to
feet
hear
are.
that again.
Be
What?
where your feet are. So I can't be with my family and I'm busy,
Oh,
checking out
wow.
Christmas messages from around the world. That's not bad. But being intentional about when you're spending time with your family this Christmas, just be present. Be where your feet are. If you're with your family, be there. If you're doing your introspection, be there. Just, put your phone away for some time and do the introspection properly. When you're doing your planning, be there. So just try and be very present for this week. So yeah, that's what I plan to do for my Christmas break, and rest. I'm really going to try and rest better this time.
I love it. Yeah. Last year I had all intentions. So we go home to Zimbabwe. We spend time with family there. And it's a really nice time. My in-laws, the kids have so much fun hanging out together. And I find that there's often pockets of time to rest. I noticed last year that I didn't spend as much time resting as I had planned. So I'm definitely going with a lot more intention around resting, finding those moments. But I really love that statement, Tessie. Be where your feet are. I think that's a powerful thing. Because all too often we're not, right? We are one place, but our heads are somewhere else. And often that somewhere else is fueled by social media. I think I'm going to take up that challenge, Tessie, and find an opportunity to maybe take some time out and just, detox a little and disconnect so that you can fully be present with the people around you. I really like that reflection. So thank you for sharing. I can see some comments from our guests. Ruby, great to have you here. Ruby says rest throughout the year. That is a gem. Thank you very much for sharing and always for being here, Ruby. And then we have Wildest Dream just re-echoing the tips shared. Rest and introspect. Consider taking a break from social media. That one is also that one's also a thing from everyone. Alrighty, so let's just highlight, if you're online and you want to ask a question to my guest, please go ahead and do so. Just type it in the comments and we will endeavor to get to it. We were talking about practical ways to recharge. What are you planning to do? Share with us in the comments. What are your plans as far as rest and relaxation is concerned? I think there's some echoes there on taking a break from social media, but what else do you have planned? Are you doing a road trip? Are you treating yourself to some time out? What is your plan to rest and recharge? We've talked about resting and recharge. Joel, let me come to you. What role does self-care play in preparing for the year ahead? Because we're talking about rest, recharge. I think we're talking about self-care over the holiday period. Why is this important? What role does it play in preparing us for the year ahead? And how can we make sure that it's not just an intention, right? Because we've talked here about the things we plan to do. How can we ensure that it's not neglected in the busy schedule that can come upon us over the holiday period? And as Tessie said, December seems long, but then it isn't.
Good question. And I think let me start with what Tessie mentioned about resting. I don't think there is self-care tip bigger than rest throughout the year. Just get pockets of time within the year where you just take care of yourself. And rest is that one thing. But I read that quote somewhere. I think it was actually on LinkedIn. Everything has cracks, and it's through the cracks that the light gets in. So for me, and I want just to use that to just to give you the perspective I have about self-care and why it is very. So one, self-care enables you, when you take these pockets of time to reflect, re-energize, rest, and do all these things. For you, the crack signifies, maybe the items that maybe you can do better or you can improve on. But it's only through those items and you actually recognizing that the light will come in. So those pockets of time that you take to really take care of yourself is when you now allow yourself to rediscover yourself and to that light to pass through so that it can impact. But yes, so in terms of where the place of self-care is, this is also one thing. Those goals we are doing, we are that season. This is something that I want to be very intentional about, because more so for us in the in these 8 to 5 or 9 to 6 jobs, we tend to really forget just to take care of ourselves. Just go on that, Jesse mentioned that spa date. Just go there and enjoy, relax. Through that, we become better people. Have you ever met those people in the day and they're very cranky? You don't want to be that person. You want to be somebody who's very productive in that meeting that you get into, and that's the role of self-care. And self-care does not need to be very complex. It's those moments. There's one thing I found out really working for me this year was having to listen to something I enjoy listening to. So like I've come to love audiobooks. And I've done quite a number of audiobooks, and I've realized actually that's one thing that really works for me when I'm going home after a long, stressful, be it 9 p.m., also something, a book I'm enjoying. And for me, I take that as my moment for that day. Then take a few minutes, for some of us who like quiet time, 10 minutes, that will be an amazing time just for you. And through that, what I've realized is you will find yourself being more better in how you engage, because self-care is not about the self, by the way. Let me just put it that way. It's about how you engage with the world. If you are sober, you are better. You'll engage in the world in a very positive and in very vibrant way, that you are bringing the light. Remember that quote? You're bringing that light to each and every conversation and each and every encounter. We can't overemphasize Stacey's point about being intentional. So that as well. You can't be intentional unless you're well, and you can't be well unless you take care of yourself. So for you to be well, do some bits. What works for you in terms of self-care? Yeah.
Thank you. I like that, and it's so important to have that self-awareness, right? To understand what works for you and what allows you to rest, because we're all different. To someone else, hearing Tessie talk about 31 kilometers is stressful for them. It would not be self-care. But for Tessie, right, that's self-care. That's one thing she does for herself that really helps her to decompress. I think it's really important, like you say, to know what works for you. And then I really like the point you made, Joel, that when we take care of ourselves, we show up as better people, right? We are more friendly on the eye, more friendly on the, on the interaction, because we are personally in a good space. So I really like that self-care is not just for your benefit, it's also for the benefit of those around you. Tessie, what are some habits or routines that will support long-term resilience and well-being as we head into the new year?
Thank you for that, Mucha. When Joe was speaking, something came to my mind, and I think, sorry for profiling here. I know there's ladies who love their cars, but men love their cars.
Yes.
Take care of their cars. And I just kept thinking, you know how you make sure your car is serviced when it needs servicing, and you make time and take it to the garage. It's a full day thing. Sometimes it's stressful, at least for me. I don't like it, but you make sure that so that your car uh, does better for you, or works well, you take care of it. Like you take it for its maintenance, right? I'm thinking about ourselves the same way. Why would you then expect that if you don't do the same for yourself, you'll get the best version of you? Those regular, opportunities to exercise, to eat healthy, to sleep enough, because sleep is part of rest. We don't get enough sleep sometimes, and that's how you end up being that cranky person Joe was talking about, because you've not, taken time to rest enough. So it's really important for you to take care of yourself, to go through that maintenance of yourself to be able to present the best version of yourself to other people. How do we, create these habits? I'd say one, it needs to make sense for you. Like it needs to matter. It needs to be something you care about. That's the only way you'll find time for it. I think running for me or hiking is very important to me because that's how I spend my time introspecting. I make my decisions when I'm on my run. I, breathe and rest through those experiences. So they are important to me because they give me an opportunity to keep going. When things are difficult, I take time away, I spend some me time, and I'm ready to come back and continue. So for me, finding that why is very important. That is what will keep you consistent throughout the year. The reason why we have high signups of gym memberships in January and February only is because you haven't figured out your why. You sign up because they have a huge discount. You're like, this is a year, we're doing it. You pay for it. But because your why is not clear, in March, you're not there. But if your why is clear throughout the year, you'll find yourself doing the thing that you've written down to do. So one way of making sure it's a habit is just narrow down to find out why you want to do this thing. Why do I want to rest more? Why do I want to spend more time with family? Why do I want to grow in my professional career? Why do I want to run? Whatever it is you want to do, to create a habit around it, just figure out the why. Once you narrow in on that, it's very easy now to say, I'll find someone who I can walk with every Saturday, or I can run with every Saturday. I found a community maybe 2 years ago, but that was after I was running for like maybe 3 years already. So I was doing it on my own first. Then I found people who are like-minded and joined this community that now is my family. So narrow down on your why, creating the habit will come. It will be easier then. Yeah.
I love
Can
that.
I add
I
more on that
Yes,
point before
yes,
you ask
please,
it?
please.
Yeah,
No,
let
no,
me.
go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Mentesi, that amazing. Focus on the first, narrow down on the why. Um, uh, so sometimes, and just to, I mean, it's an additional point. What I'll say I've seen, and it's something I can say in the last recent years I've come to learn, is sometimes we are too sensitive, or let me say overcritical of our performance vis-a-vis the way you're doing something. So the next point to that, I just want to add is, man, celebrate small wins. Those, even including that enrollment to the gym, if that's your why. Once you know the why, you have not stepped in there. You have just enrolled. Yeah, come clap for yourself. Because and let me use an example. So I have this year, last year, from an exercising perspective, me being active has been yeah. Let me say these have been the two laziest years I've ever had in my adult life. So I realized anytime I'm thinking of this big bang going back to exercise, I know the why I need to exercise. Man, every time I fail. I started, when was it, in November? I decided I'll be waking up doing a 30 minutes walk, not even a run. Just wake up, walk for 30 minutes around the hood, and then come, take a shower, prepare, go to work. And trust you me, right now, yeah, I think I'll be among the people enrolling in the gym come January. Hopefully for me, I'll progress. But the point was, celebrate the small wins. Don't be too critical on yourself in terms of you trying to achieve this big agenda. Celebrate small wins. Yes, Mucha.
I love that. I really love that. And I think that it's so important to start where you are. I think maybe
Yeah.
the challenge we have and the reason why we do this enrollment in the gym that just remains an enrollment for the whole year. And I agree, let's celebrate the small step. But I think maybe one of the reasons why that step is not then progressing to anything else is because we're waiting for this big moment, right? So I'm waiting until I I'm able to go to the gym, or I'm able to give 2 hours to go for a gym workout. And yet, like you're saying, Joe, if I start where I am, okay, so maybe I can't get to the gym, but where I am right now is that 30-minute walk. Where I am right now is even 15 minutes walking up the stairs instead of using the elevator. So I think that's so, so key. Just start where you are. On your journey to your goals, start where you are. I think all too often we're waiting until we're able to do everything instead of being willing to start where we are. So I like that. Start easy is how you said it here, Tessie. Sharon, we see you. Thank you very much for being here. Sharon says, love that. Get the why, the habit will develop. And Wildest Dreams is doing a great job of summarizing the conversations we're having, tips that support long term resilience and well being. Connect the habit with the why and celebrate the small wins. I tell you every single time, if you just make sure you're ready and you have your lunch, we will bring the learning. My guests have been dropping amazing insights this afternoon from the very beginning, and I'm so delighted to have them all here. I'm looking at the time, and the time is really flying by. If you have a question, don't forget to ask it. Tessie, I want to stay with you, and then I'll come back to you, Joel. How do you prioritize goals as the new year comes? So we've talked about resting, we've talked about recharging, we've talked about reflecting, and we've highlighted how critical all of this is. And what I love, Tessie, is you've given us insights on how to do this consistently through the year. So not just to wait until the end of the year, right? So earlier you shared the idea of, using your Google Calendar to capture some of those milestones, opening a folder to write down the great things you're doing at work. So I've done that. January is getting started. I've set some goals. Talk to us a little bit about prioritization so that we can balance our personal development, our career ambitions, and our well-being.
Okay, so there's this tool I like to share, Mucha. I will drop it on the chat once I'm done speaking. I think it's a very useful tool, honestly. I've used it for, this is going to be what, the 6th year? I keep iterating it because I'm growing as well, and I see things that I need to move around and stuff, but it's a good guide. So, one, if you have a guide, that's good. That's a great place to start. It helps you understand what falls where and simply, segment, the goals that you have. Because sometimes you bulk them all in one, they seem very overwhelming. So if you have a way of breaking them down in different segments, that helps. How I do it is I have a personal segment, which will have my self-care, my personal goals, and one of my big, hairy, audacious goals next year is to summit Mount Kilimanjaro and to run the Two Oceans Marathon. Those two.
Woo!
So personal falls in there. So what am I doing for myself? For fun, for my health, for my self-care? Is it like 4 spa dates, one per quarter? Is it to read more books? Or because I can't read, I use audiobooks. Joel, that has been a hack for me this year because I have tried to read when I'm in school and I feel like I need to be reading school books. So I can't catch up with my other reading. But when I tried to incorporate audiobooks, I found it very easy. And now I'm not really, hell bent on having the physical book every single time because I don't get that time sometimes. So my drive home, my drive to work, my drive sometimes to school, I listen to an audiobook. And I love that. So personal goals would go there. Do you want to read more books, listen to more audios? Do you want to contribute? And I've said this, I think this is the second time I'm mentioning. Listening to audiobooks is not enough. Listening to podcasts is not enough. Are you contributing to the conversations that you find important to you or you're passionate about? How do you contribute? Reach out to them. Tell them you want to be a guest and share your thoughts. That's a good way to be part of things that you care about and you love. So don't just listen, activate, be in spaces where you're seeing things you're passionate about and you're contributing to them. So that's personal. Professional. that would be my growth in my career. So currently, I'm an account director at Hill and Knowlton. We just rebranded to Barson. What does growth mean for me at work? Making that very, very clear. Does it mean getting on new business? Does it mean moving on to a different level? Does it mean being super efficient in whatever it is that I'm doing? And what does that really mean? So being very clear in my professional journey. So that's two. Three would be friends and family. I try to make it an intentional thing to be there for my friends and my family. If I don't make the time, as you all know, things will just pass by and you realize there's that friend I told in January we should have coffee. It's December. I promise you the coffee is there. The problem is you too. So being very intentional to say when you meet with someone and you'd want to connect with them, just putting it in your diary and saying let's connect on this day, and you make time for it. If it's a friend, checking up on your friends. Sometimes you don't get to meet a lot because I mean life is happening, things get busy, but remembering to maybe call them or even pray for them. I have friends who pray for me, and that in itself is important. I might not have seen you the whole year, but the thought of knowing that my friends are, sort of surrounding me with their love through prayer, gives me a lot of strength to keep going. So that's friends and family. And on there, what would go there would be I remember my friends' birthdays, the things that are important to them. If they have kids, their kids' big days, I'd put them there. If it's my family, of course, we are big on birthdays. So making sure they don't catch me off guard. And off guard mostly is the financial aspect. If you're not ready, you forget. You can't do nice things for you know so you map it out in a way that you are keen on those big days and you're ready to celebrate your people, and it doesn't have to be big, but you just you're intentional about it. People love it when they know you're intentional about being there for them. Then finances, I've put a big what are your goals around finances? So I put that separately because I'd like to be very intentional about how that grows. I also come from a background where money was a conversation we had every day. And I'm not talking about my childhood. I worked at Centonomy. Centonomy, we had constant conversations about money. And that now became something that I took on from a personal level. That now I need to think through my money more intentionally. What is it doing for me? What can I do better? And I have a goal for it, right? So you put in your big money goal for the year. If it is investing, you put it there. It could be a money market fund. It could be an infrastructure bond. It could be buying shares. What step are you making? It could be joining a chama or an investment group, making progress on that direction. Yeah. And finally, I have this small list that I call my big, hairy, audacious goals. So, like the big things I would want to do and might not quite fall in the four buckets. But I need to put a lot more energy to making sure they happen. I put them on the side and I have a small list for them. So I try to, break them down like that. And it really helps me to see that I'm able to do, things in different areas of my life. So on my calendar, I'll pull this to now making it very practical. As I go down to documenting, January has come. One of the goals I had was to maybe to run a marathon every month. That's much. That's a bit much. Let's say per quarter. So people don't run away from this call. So per quarter. So then I get the opportunity to do the run. I code it, I color code it, and I have my personal goal as green. So on that day, I've marked that I did a run at Karura, um, 21 kilometers, maybe, right? So when I'm going back at the end of the year, I can see my personal goals are green, my professional goals are pink, and I can see the trend on some of the things I've been able to do throughout the year. Doing it, writing down what you need to do is one. Doing it is another. Documenting it is very important because that's how you celebrate. So I'd say that's what I usually I'll send the link to the tool I use. Feel free to explore it if it works for you. If you have more tools, please feel free to share as well.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you very much,
Wow.
Tessie. I just highlighted what Ruby says. We talked about this tool that Tessie shared with a couple of us that completely changed how we look at our year and the goals for the new Yeah, Tessie, thank you. I think Tessie, you're definitely an advocate for this tool, and I think this is one of the reasons why we love having you for this conversation. So, Tessie, you said the goal buckets were personal, professional, friends, and family.
Financial. I
And
took notes.
finances, financial, financial,
And there's that
financial was the one
list.
I couldn't remember. Financial, and then there
Yeah.
was the big, hairy, audacious goals. I like that.
Yeah.
So even if you don't use the tool does really require, if you're gonna get the most out of it, it really does require you to take some time with it and really spend some time in reflection. It's a great tool for reflection. But even if you don't use the tool, if you feel like that's just a big step for you, start right there on these buckets. And what I would say is for each bucket, no more than three goals. Three is a good number. So maximum three things for each bucket. And then when you've written down the three, I would say prioritize them so that at least you can achieve one goal in each of the buckets. So if you're starting from nowhere and you're trying to figure out how to get started, that's the advice I would give. But I really do love the two, and I know that Tessie is going to share. Joel, you sound like you wanted to say something on this. Do I come to you
No, no,
on
I
these
just
three
wanted to
points?
say, sorry, no, I just want to say thank you for the tips. I think for us, very yellow people who not so structured, we struggle with food, but
Yeah.
speaking for my brothers and sisters who might be listening to us,
Yes.
but I
Yes.
think this one for sure. I think one of the learnings I've had this year is, part of our personalities we need to improve. So this is one thing that I think this year have been more structured, even in such things like planning, even from a personal perspective. And yeah, I'll check out the tool. So for me, that was a masterclass there that you just gave.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
A master class right there. Thank you very much. I think that's a really great, that's a really fabulous point you've made right there, Joel. And I agree that, we need to leverage our different strengths as far as
Mhm.
what we are able to do. So let me just share the link on behalf of Tessie. It looks like yeah. So here we go. So it's called a Year Compass. And like I said, it is a really fabulous tool. It's something that I too started using. And I think that when I interacted with Tessie, it just really reinforced the importance of using it. It's a really fabulous tool. You do have to set aside some good time to be able to get the most out of it. But like I said, even if you just dip your toe in and start slowly, you will find that the tool is really useful to help you really set yourself up for having a great year. I cannot believe that we only have 10 minutes left. It's like, where has the conversation, where has the time gone? But this is always what happens when we have a great conversation. Tessie and Joel, I want to come to you, and I have a question I'd like to ask you. Actually, two questions, and I think we have enough time. And I'm just going to give you the two questions so you prepare yourself, even as I just double check to see if we have any questions or comments in the chat. If you do want to ask a question, please, now is a good time. I see the question about the access to the tool, and we've shared the link to that. But if you have any other question, do share. So, first question to you both is, what's one piece of advice that you would give your past self from a year ago, and how can that inform the path ahead? So that's the first question. So this is going to be kind of like your parting shot. I'd like you to answer these two questions. And then the second question, as we wrap up the year, how do you plan to embrace the opportunities and challenges that the new year may bring with an open and positive mindset? So, what advice, one piece of advice you would give your past self from a year ago, looking back? And Tessie, for you, it's an interesting question because a year ago, around this kind of time, we were having this kind of conversation. And how will this inform you going forward? And the second one is, how do you plan to embrace the opportunities and challenges that the year ahead may bring? Joel, I'll start with you, but let me just quickly check to see if anyone has any comments. Wanjiro, it's great to have you. We've shared the link to the tool. Thank you very much for joining us today. Yeah, I don't see any questions in the comments. If you have a question, You still have an opportunity to share it. But Joel, let me come to you on those
Mm.
two questions. So let's start with the one about advice from a year ago. And perhaps what we can do is, as much as I'm asking both of you, we can answer one question at this together. So both of you, Joel, then Tessie, answer the first question, then we'll come to the last question as our final question.
Okay.
Joel, over to you.
Great. So advice to my past self this year, I think it will be relax. You are okay. You got this. I don't know how else I can put it. It will
Yes,
be okay.
yes, yes,
Just chill.
yes,
Uh,
yes.
eh, eh, eh,
Yeah.
these pressures of life, be it work related. I've had a quite. I hope my boss is not, or rather, I hope he is watching so that he can. Conversation is coming. I've had quite an intense year at work. So, and sometimes you get a feeling of, will things will fall. You have to finish it today. But yeah, I think that the advice would be, man, relax. You got this, and guess what? Tomorrow will come, and guess what? Things will be done.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that
I like
bit. I have had moments this year that I had to remind myself that, and I think beginning the year, actually, just to mention, I moved to the group role, to a new role, towards the end of last year. So you come already with that pressure of, hey, man, yeah. So yeah, relax, Joel. Guess what? You got this. You know your stuff. And to most of us, maybe we need that moment where you just remind yourself, relax. So yeah, I think that's my advice.
I like that. I really like that.
Yes.
I think that's really great advice. And it's great advice even for those of us who are more red, Joel, and very driven to achieve goals. I think it's good to remind ourselves, relax, take a breath. Tessie, what advice would you give?
I kid you not, I wrote breathe. So when Joel said relax, I was
Great
like,
minds think alike.
here you go. I wrote breathe.
Yeah.
And just noticing that we sometimes forget to do that simple act of breathing.
Yeah.
Things might be going, not the way you expect them to go. You might not be, at the place where you want to be, but just breathe. There's always solutions when you take a step back and you breathe. So very, very related to what Joel was saying. Relax. You're fine. Imagine, take that step back, just chill. Things will be fine. But I want to bring another one into perspective because he spoke about relax, rest. I think one huge learning for me, for all my friends who know me, is I don't do rest very well. It almost has to be that thing I need to learn. So try and be intentional about your rest. Rest in all areas, your body, your mind. Just think through how your rest, manifests. And that would be being able to take care of yourself in a way that you can show up in the best way possible to everybody around you, or to do the things that you want to do. So I would tell myself a year ago to rest. And how that will inform my journey ahead would be, I can only do big things, and my body can only allow me to do big things if I'm able to take care of it. And rest is a big part of it. So I'd say, yes, relax, breathe, and rest. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love the way your two points kind of very much relate to each other. You got this, right? And breathe. And I
Yeah.
like your last point about resting. I think I'm a culprit of that too. Just this need to be continuously busy, and I don't treat my body as well as I could as far as rest is concerned. So I think that's definitely something that I need to be more intentional about. I'm learning to be more intentional about, and maybe what I would add for me is just that being intentional around my self care, being intentional around doing the things that nourish me. I think that all too often, and partly because of this personality type, all too often I am at the bottom of the list, right? And so just putting myself at the top of the list is really important. All right, so let's get to the last question then. And the last question I asked was, how do you plan to embrace the opportunities and challenges that the next year may bring with an open and positive mindset? So Tessie, let's start with you this time round, and then we'll wrap it up with Joel.
So I think this was an easy one for me because it's something that I'm intentional about doing, and I was writing my notes here. So one, I plan to continue with the habit of setting goals. So just being very intentional about articulating what I want to do. First to myself when I do my, introspection and I do my planning on my own. But second, speaking it to somebody who can keep me accountable. So being very intentional about my accountability sessions. I do this with my best friend Nyawira. She's been on here as well. So we try to
Yes,
keep each
yeah.
other accountable. We actually have diarized a quarterly session to discuss how we're doing with our goals. So sometimes, like Mutra said, you showing up to that meeting and you're not ready makes you feel some type of way. So it keeps you, accountable to keep doing what you need to do. So then when you're in the meeting, you all have wins to share and you all have progress to share. So setting the goal, being very intentional about speaking into someone who can keep me accountable, and um, making sure I extend grace to myself. I even wrote there, extend yourself some grace, because I am one of those people who will beat myself up about not achieving a small thing
Yeah,
that I had purposed to
yeah.
do. So I'm going to extend grace to myself throughout the year. And how I'm able to take up more opportunities is if I do these things. If I plan, I say I want to do maybe to write 6 articles throughout the year. And if I do that and I share with my friend that that's what I want to do, they will keep me accountable and they will make sure I take up these opportunities that I've said I will do. So I want to consistently plan and stay connected with the person who will, keep me accountable to achieving my goals. And together, when we do that, we also celebrate the small and big wins. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. And I think that that piece about celebrating is also so important because often we set ourselves these milestones, we achieve them, and then we don't stop to celebrate. Joel, the last comment, let's hear from you.
Yeah, yeah. So next year, so there's this concept that I think somebody was talking about, was connecting life with there's that, what do you call that? Oh my goodness, the lifeline. Let me say the lifeline. You know how it
Hmm.
has the ups and downs,
Yes.
and anytime it flats out, you are dead.
Yes.
So I think one of the thing, and this is a personal item that I have been learning and I carry along ever since I learned it, is to realize being alive means you'll get those ups and downs. Just to
Yeah.
ensure you, and sorry. So sometimes you find you'll go through an app why we sometimes struggle to embrace those moments where quote unquote will be challenging is the app, if that's what signifies the challenge, is
Mm,
unexpected.
mm.
But for the one thing is, let's go to the new year with the mindset of we are alive, we are not flat, we are, our line is still
We're not
very
flatlining.
beeping.
Yes. Yes.
You're not flatlining. Your life,
Yes.
you are alive. You'll have your moments, you'll have your wins, you'll have those moments, and guess what? That's part of life. Guess what? It does not mean that the world is ending because you have one app. So that mindset, for me, is very key. Because before you work on that mindset, you will struggle. And maybe just what even what Tessy said about the goals. You find
Yeah.
some of us really struggle with goals because you feel I have to achieve it. But guess
Yeah.
what? You know, set the goal, do everything you can. If somebody was to ask you, did you do everything towards the goal?
Yeah.
Yes. You missed it a bit. Imagine it's okay.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, don't punish. Don't be too hard on yourself. So
Yeah.
for me, the
Yeah.
mindset there is that mindset for us to face 2025 and beyond. We need
Yeah.
a mindset shift just to really be in the moment, know that we are alive. The things we are going through are part of life. Because you're going through that, it does not mean that you're disadvantaged. It just means you
Yeah.
don't know what I'm going through in my other side, and have a very positive mindset. Just to talk
Yeah.
about on the list that the goal settings and the list that Tessie shared. Beyond
Yeah.
that, I think the world needs a little bit more hope and love.
Mm.
So there is this concept, most opportunities, the biggest opportunities will be about connecting, meaningful connections. So I think I purpose to be very intentional with these connections. The bits of share some bit more love to the world, give some bit more hope. Somebody needs an encouragement. In that way, you'll find your up and down will be very simpler, because you'll always have something to lift you up on what you're impacting the society. So meaningful connections, pursuing being a positive impact to the world. Trust you me, it will also have a positive impact to you as an individual. So yes, I think I'll add to those two just on the list that Tessie shared. Let's start it from the mind. Let's have this mindset of this is life, and I think you
Yeah.
said self care. Just it's okay. You
Yeah.
are good. You'll make it. Let me say then I'm carrying for that relaxed mindset
Yes. I love it. I
into
love
the
it.
future.
I love it. I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. Thank you so much, Joel. I love that.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great way for us to wind up our conversation today. Let's go into the future with that mindset that says, you've got this, and relax, right? We may have another "Weh" kind of year, but even if that is the case, we've got this. We just need to be really more intentional about supporting ourselves and giving ourselves those moments of pausing to breathe, to relax, and to celebrate our successes. Thank you so much, guys. You have been phenomenal as always. As I say every single month that we have this lunch and learn, that somehow we bring together the most amazing people and they have such amazing insights to share. So thank you. I have learned so much from what you have shared today. I have been reminded on why it's important to maintain that self-care and really invest in myself intentionally. I have been reminded on the importance of tracking what I'm doing, so capturing the data around the milestones that I've achieved, so that when the year comes to an end, I'm able to reflect more positive. I'm able to reflect more easily on what I've been able to achieve, both from a personal perspective and a professional perspective. And lastly, the third takeaway that I have is I've been reminded that I need to be more intentional about connection. I think both of you spoke to this part about, prioritizing friends and family, which is something you mentioned, Tessie, as a specific goal. And in your parting shot, something you highlighted, Joel, this idea that, the world just needs a little more love and connection. And I think the key is just to be intentional about it so that we don't get so caught up in achieving things that we forget about the people around us. So thank you all very much. It has been a fabulous conversation, and I'm so glad that we were able to have it. And this is us bringing the EQ Lunch and Learn series to a close for 2024. We will be back in January with a conversation about setting goals in some way, shape, or form. Watch our socials for more information around that. And we continue to walk this journey with supporting you to develop the skill of emotional intelligence because we believe it underpins everything that we do. Every conversation we've had today really is rooted in emotional intelligence. If you have a topic that you think you'd like us to bring to the table for next year, please share it with us. You can share it now in the comments. You can send us a message on our socials. You can just add to the comments after this event if you're watching this later. If there's something you think we should talk about and discuss how it relates to emotional intelligence, please just let us know. But for now, I'd like to thank my guests. Thank you very much, Tessie, for being here. As always, please make sure you diarize because November next year, if not any other time in the year, you'll be back in this spot sharing with us all about reflecting. So thank you very much and have a fabulous Christmas holiday. Joel, thank you too.
Thank you.
Welcome to the PTS family. And
Thank
I'm
you.
sure we will have you back here again having conversation. So thank you both and enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye for now. So there you have it. What a fabulous conversation I've had with my awesome guest who joined us today. And I know there has been insights dropped. Feel free to share with us what your key takeaway has been today. Again, in the comments, just type what your key takeaway was. And don't forget to share with us if there's topics that you would like us to bring to you next year. As part of the PTS family and as the moderator for these EQ Lunch and Learn conversations. Thank you so much for spending your time with us over the course of the year. It has been great connecting with you on a monthly basis, and we will continue to do so in the new year. As I mentioned, we'll kick off in January. So watch this space for more details. Diarize the last Wednesday of every month. We are a little out of sync today, but typically we meet the last Wednesday of every month. So diarize it, please. And I look forward to seeing you on the other side. Have a fantastic Christmas. May the Lord be good to you and bless you and your family in immeasurable ways. And may you enter into 2025 blessed and enriched by the time you spent reflecting and recharging for the year ahead. So goodbye from me for now, and I'll see you again soon. Thank you very much for joining us.